Good evening, Young Kings. Time for your more motivation. Just got out of work. Just drove home. Had a pretty good day. As I indicated before, been going through some inspections at work, and it's been quite rewarding lately. Those who don't know, I've been in battalion command just under a year. So when I came in command, I actually got invited in command by this colonel who was my former boss, and he asked me to come in and be a battalion commander. And I was honored to. I mean, it was definitely one of those positions that I wanted, but I thought it would be more years down the line before I got it. But he had got a new job, and he had worked with me before, and he asked me to come in, and because he knew they were going to be going into an inspection within the next year or so. So came in, assessed everything, and started making some changes. And during those changes I was making, made a lot of people uncomfortable. They were like, "Hey, he's just coming to this organization. He really doesn't know what's going on. He's making changes without truly understanding everything that's going on." But for me, and just so you know, my mind is very analytical. I really look at process management, and I look at not only what people say, but the end results of what they actually do as well. So some things, when it doesn't make sense, it just doesn't make sense, and I need to have that clarity in mind. So, and that's where my education and stuff is in as well. Bachelor's in business, and I have a master's in organizational development. And organizational development is just that. You go into an organization, you assess a problem, and then you start making changes to make that organization operate at a high level, at its optimal level. So my mind is wired like that. My education background is fitted like that. And then when I got into this organization, I started doing the same thing. So I got in there and I started making changes about how we were doing things, how we were documenting things. And it ruffled a lot of feathers. And I remember a few times over this last 10 plus months that I've been in command that a lot of people went behind my back to my boss and say, "Hey, he really doesn't understand this and this and that." And I had a lot of conversations with my colonel and say, "Hey, I want you to understand that what I'm doing is nothing's personal, that is always for the best interest of an organization." And, he called me over, so he kind of knew my personality, and that's what it was. And to think about it, they would think they would be telling on me, and he would call me and say, "Hey, do you want me to move them for you?" I said, "No, sir, I got this." And so he was actually very supportive during this process. And I give you that long introduction to tell you this, like, it was a great week, because this week was show and prove. I've been saying that we're going to do things to better the organization, and I've been telling them, like, "Hey, this is going to pay dividends if we can invest in this," and got a lot of the preliminary scoring off some of our inspections. I had two companies that were going to go through this inspection, and the preliminary scoring is one of my companies. It's going to be right at about a 94.7%, and then the other company is going to be at a 96.8%. And so, not to say that we're perfect or that that's all attributed to me. I did have a good team, and I ended up moving some people out of positions and putting different people into positions that were going to be a little more effective, and ended up putting a little pressure on people to get them to perform in a different way. But the bottom line is that me, as a commander, I'm not the one that's down there doing it. I'm just creating the environment for which it to get done. So it was pretty rewarding to see that these results. I know this inspection comes around every 3 years, and I think last year they were at like 83%, 84%. So it's almost over a 10% increase by a little intention, a little effort, and a little accountability. So I was definitely glad that came to fruition, and it makes all the more sense. Like, when you're intentional about something, you can make that change. So I'm about to take that same process and apply it in my personal life. There's some things that I got to be intentional about, and a lot of those things happen outside of the comfort zone, a people comfort zone, of my comfort zone. So it's definitely a great day in that aspect of it. So today I want to continue on the the Operation Restore the Lion King, and then also that the battle of self-discovery. And as I'm going through my days, this thing that I'm going through as far as this battle of self-discovery, I want you to know, like, everything that you're watching in these videos, like, comfort did not bring me here. Comfort did not allow me to be successful. Adversity is what helped me get to this place of recognition that I needed to grow, that I needed to be better. So a lot of people, if you're coming and you're watching these videos and you want to start applying this lessons learned from this video, you're going to have to step outside your comfort zone. And as I was reading this article on radical acceptance, and I know I mentioned that in a before video, and we're going to go back and we're going to park there for a while in radical acceptance. Maybe not on this video, but there's something in that radical acceptance that I think is definitely beneficial for our self-discovery and self-actualization. But it made a statement in one of this article. It says pain is mandatory, suffering is optional, and it kind of stumped me. Like, in its justification behind it, was saying, like, you can't stop bad things from happening to you. You can't just wish that you only partake in good things and enjoy the moments and stuff like that. You can't prevent those things from happening. So the reality of it is like, pain is not optional. But it says pain is mandatory, suffering is optional. So pain is not optional, but the suffering is optional. And it went on to explain this, like, suffering is refusing to accept pain in its reality. So it kind of punishes you more. Like, the event will happen, and you would, if you want to have radical acceptance, you would say, hey, it is what it is. I can't control that. All I can control is my response to that. And that's what we've been talking about in the last few videos. It's about response management. But if you don't subscribe to radical acceptance, and you want to just dwell on it, and then that's where that pain turns into suffering. So the pain turns into suffering when you fail to accept reality. If you get into a position where you start thinking that you're a victim, or why did this happen to me? Bad things always happen to me. I just I can't catch a break. So you took that event, and your reflection on that event is now causing you to suffer because you internalized a lot of the stuff. You weren't able to process it and then let it go. You process it and then you held on to it, and then it kind of continue the elongated pain process, and it caused you to reflect and to dread, and then you just start stressing about something that has already happened, and then you start to create in your mind the rationale why it happened, why you're having this bad luck, or it's been a bad year, and you start putting definition that are more personal about it. And I looked at that and I was like, that's kind of what I did this last year, trying to save a broken marriage. Not even just this last year. In 25 years, I've known that this wasn't a good match, but I suspended all that information in order to maintain a family unit, and I wasn't being true to myself, and neither was she. So I'm learning that that's caused a lot of suffering. Like, if you're not, and we're not off on a detour, we're really on track. If you really are not aware of who you are, and you don't have that self-discovery and self-actualization, every relationship around you is going to be impacted by that, because you're operating in a span that's outside of who you really are. So the key to it is to kind of, like, this battle of self-discovery is like we're discovering us. And I was just talking with my friend Eric the other day, yesterday, and I won't share all the depths of the things that we talked about, but in essence, we were talking about some hard life decisions that need to be made. And the bottom line, and because I have to apply this stuff, like, I'm not just going through these videos and giving you information for the sake of giving you information. I'm also trying to equip myself to really discover this new me. And it's not even a new me, it's accepting who I am. But I told him, I was like, hey, no matter how much you love someone, or how much you appreciate someone, or how much you value someone, or how close you are with someone, when your time expired, there's only room for one person in that box. that coffin. Like, two people can die together and they're going to have two separate boxes. They're going to have two separate coffins. They might have a joint funeral. But the reality of it is, in all the funerals I've been to, I've seen one person per box. One person per box. So I told him, it's like, we got to start making decisions so we can be comfortable with the person that's in the box with us, ourselves. So just realize, like, when your life comes to an end, like, that's your life, and people around you, life go on. And I tell you this, and this is not to sound heartless or anything, because I have heard from people that have passed on. But my little brother died when he was 16, and I think I had just turned 20, and that hurt my heart to the core. I mean, I think I cried for like 10 years, and I got to a point where I was crying in the shower. I mean, I wouldn't cry in front of people, but I would cry because it impacted me. But the reality of it is like, man, that was in 96. I've been moved on with my life, and I had to continue to live my life. My mom died 5 years ago, and that hurt. So when people die, life continues on for the people around them after that. So after we die, people are going to continue on. It won't say they won't remember us here and there. They won't feel sad on our birthday or a certain indication or certain events and stuff of that nature. But the reality of it is like, their life is going to continue. So with that in mind, you got to live your life for the one that's going to be in that box with you, and be comfortable with who you are. And that's where this battle of self-discovery is, because if you lose, you lose. You know, kind of like, I had a saying back, it was probably about a few years ago. I said, like, I feel like I'm at war with myself, and I feel like I won, but I also feel like I lost. Like, man, and if you're at war with yourself, if a part of you win, then a part of you lost. It's like, so it's like that duality of it. It's like, you know, you can't cut off your nose to smite your face. It's like, you're really in this battle. We really got to go through this thing and understand, like, this thing is essential for us to get down, because it's so essential, not only for us, but it's for everybody around us. So we're going to get into some questions. I'm not going to go too long. I know I wanted to go over Maslow hierarchy of needs, and we're getting into some self-actualization. But as I said before, I want to get into some questions. So a few things I'm going to read, and I'll reflect on it. And it says it's important to address the feelings that as they come up. And then we have to check in with ourselves on a regular basis so we understand the root cause of our discomfort and remind us of our strengths and weaknesses. So it's like, check in, just like question yourself all the time. Like, if you're making a decision or people are talking to you and you notice that you're having this uneasy feeling about it, ask yourself, like, why am I uneasy about this? And it says practicing self-reflection and asking key self-discovery questions can be empowering and can challenge the way you believe. You can gain clarity over your life's path and apply creative solution to the challenges you face. So it's like, in order for you to really to develop into your true potential, you're going to have to ask yourself some tough questions, and those questions are going to have to shake and rattle your comfort zone. There's a saying, like, going to the grave tapped out. Like, there's no need for potential in the afterlife. Whatever you believe, talent is supposed to be realized on this side of the grave. So all potential, there's no need for you to be playing it safe or for you to be pacing yourself. You ought to go to the grave tapped out, and like, not to a point where you just, you should be spent. When your life is over, they should be able to look at you and was like, you know what? That guy used every bit of talent that he had. He developed his potential. He or she just developed it. But the reality of it is, it's like, don't pace yourself. Like, really develop yourself to its fullest potential. Like, I know when I was joining the Army, people would judge you about where they think you can be or where you can't be, and they would try to make that indictment on you. A lot of people didn't think I would make it in the Army because they said I fought a lot. I was hard-headed. I didn't listen to anybody. And, you know, had I listened to them, then I wouldn't be where I am today. So there's an element of you that's going to have to understand who you are so you can reject what other people say about you. And because they would try to define you by a period in your life, and they would make that definition, they want it to carry over throughout your whole life. But you got to get to a point in your life where you're not rattled by what other people think. And to give you a story, I was going for my master's degree, and I think I got my master's in 2014 or so. So just over 7 years ago. But I wasn't good at school. As I mentioned before, like I barely graduated high school. I think my GPA was like a 1.7 something. Eventually I'm gonna go back and I'll get that report card and I'll post it. So I wasn't a great student, but I wasn't a great student because I really didn't apply myself. But a lot of people would try to associate with my intelligence. No, there's a difference between application and applying yourself, and then not having the mental faculties to excel. So barely graduated high school, went to the Army. Then I got out of the Army to I got out of the Army to go to school. And when I went for my bachelor's degree, I did better. I graduate my bachelor's degree with a 2.95, just shy of a 3 point. And once again, it was application. Like I would read the syllabus and I would realize how many points it took to pass a class. And then once I passed the class and I knew I couldn't fail the class, I let up. I wouldn't turn in assignments. I was like, hey, there's no way I could fail. I'm going to take a break here and I'm not going to turn this assignment because I can still get a B in this class if I don't do anything else. So I was one of those people that calculated points. But when I went for my master's degree, I decided, you know what? I'm actually going to apply myself to see what I can do. And I graduated my master's class with a 3.79. Just putting my attention and trying to focus on actually learning the information. Once again, I did a master's in organizational development. But I remember as I was going through my master's program, to be honest with you, at times I'm functionally illiterate. I can't halfway spell. I'm glad they have spell check. My writing is not the best. Sometimes my brain substitute words in there and it gets it wrong. My punctuation and stuff needs to be adjusted. But anyways, I say that to say this. My professors used to come at me and they used to tell me, it's like, hey, you're not going to make it through this program writing like you're writing. Now, my comprehension of the topics and what I was trying to convey was on point, was on target. My comprehension was there. It's just like my communication and my punctuation, and stuff like that. My writing APA style, I wasn't citing things right and stuff of that nature. So I used to get marked down on my paper, and they used to put harsh judgment on me, like, hey, it's going to be hard for you to get through this program if you don't improve your writing. And I was like, man, had you taken that judgment and like, hey, you know what, maybe this is beyond me, I'm not supposed to be doing this, then it would be easy to quit because they're saying that you're not going to make it. But the reality of it is, it's like they'll be marking me down and have this long dissertation on things that I didn't do right, but then I have an A- on the paper. So I'm like, okay, I'll take your notes and try to get better next time, but man, and continue on. So the points that I lost off that master's degree was just from administrative errors that I made. And I did eventually get people to proofread my paper and correct things and try to work in advance. So there's things that you can do to work around your weakness. Don't let people put a death sentence or a elongated sentence on one of your mistakes. And going back to the thing of the pain and suffering, like I've known my marriage was over for a long time, but my refusal to accept it being over caused me to suffer longer than what was needed. And the reality of it is, and this statement is no indictment on her and her choices to leave me or anything of that nature, but the reality of it is, once I accepted it, the quality of my life is improved. Like I feel better. I feel healthier. I feel whole. Like that burden of trying to make something work is a heavy burden when you're the only one working and trying to make it work. And now it's like, wow, I'm healthier. I feel like I'm living a happier, healthier life. I'm thriving at work. I'm getting in better conditioning outside. I've started engaging in another relationship that's more in line with my personality. And there's no indictment on there. It's not a matter of comparison, because there's a saying that says comparison kills contentment. But I will tell you this, because we're talking about loving yourself. And I don't know how far we're going to get on these questions. We might even get to the first one. But when it comes to relationship, because that's been my storm, when it comes to relationship, chemistry is everything. And if you're a young king in your relationship or something like that, friendship should be a principal thing you look for. It shouldn't be beauty. And me, when I was coming up, I was shallow and I went for a lot of looks. You know, I needed a dime piece. I needed kind of a trophy wife, and looks was subordinate. I mean, personality was subordinate to looks. So if you look good, then I kind of put up with you a little longer, as long as you were fine. But the reality of it is, it's like chemistry is everything. So if you're in looking for a relationship, or you're in a relationship, you should be with someone that you can love. Loving them is like loving yourself. I mean, like, you don't have to walk on eggshells. You don't have to try to portray that you're this and that. You just can be thoroughly who you are. And I realized, like, I'm creating an environment myself where it's okay to be me. And that's that radical acceptance. It's like, it's okay to be who you are. I was listening to this song, and I tell you that this is your homework. Kevin Gates got this song called Great Man. And I think I had that on repeat like 4 or 5 times coming home from work. I was looking in the mirror, and then I see a great man. So your homework is just go turn that song up as loud as you can. I mean, if you don't live by yourself, you don't own the place, you might have to put your headphones on. But whatever it is, you need to turn that song up and then recognize that you can look in the mirror and see a great man. And if you can't turn it up without headphones on, that means it's time for you to get on purpose so you can get on your own stuff. Go back and watch the video where I talk about not depending on a woman, not living with a woman and stuff of that nature. Get to a place where you can turn your music up if you want to. And it's not a license to be disrespectful or anything, but at the same time, be yourself. So we're going to get into this and some of these questions. It says self-reflection means taking time to look both at yourself more deeply and at others more broadly. Like, when it comes to yourself, it's time to go deep. When it comes to others, it's just you want to have a broad understanding of what's going on out there. But the real work comes from within. So if we got within, like, if the storm is calm within, then nothing without is going to rattle you. So it's just a matter of just coming there. And it says practicing self-reflection takes honesty and discipline. Like, you got to be honest with yourself. There's some things that I absolutely need to improve on. And those things, I got to be honest. I can't say, oh, it's not that bad. If you really want to reach your full potential, it's going to take a lot of work and effort to get there. Like, it takes, like I said, when I got to this battalion command, there were a lot of people that were talking a good game. Hey, yes, no worry about it. We doing this. And I said, well, show me. And they were, oh, somewhere, I'll get it to you. And then they never came back and was able to get it to me. And the reality of it is, it's like, and I know I'm backtracking, but that 94.7% and that 96.7%, the only point we really missed on this evaluation was things we can't prove that was done prior to me getting there. Meaning, like, the things we can correct, we corrected it and it's in play, and we got programs and processes in place. But we were deducted points because they were asking for documents that happened 18 months ago, 2 years ago, things that were supposed to be done there. And we couldn't prove that it was done. But since I've been there, we can prove that we done everything we were supposed to do, and we were rewarded with our score accordingly. And of course, striving for perfection is demoralizing. I wasn't expecting a 100% score anyway, but at the same time, I think we still got some room for improvement. So practicing self-reflection takes honesty and discipline. And then it goes into meditation and journal writing, and then just being able to sit down and be contemplative in your thoughts. And it says self-reflection can help you develop emotional intelligence. Like, if you in charge of yourself, then someone else shouldn't be able to come and rattle you. Like, and that's the one thing that I know that in my personality, that I'm capable. Sometimes I'll just let people rile me up and I'll go off on that edge. So my personality trait is ENTJ. If you get a chance to look it up, and I may come back to that, and that's extrovert, intuitive, thinking, and judging. Like on the Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENTJ. So if you look that up, you can kind of get a glance of what my personality is. And some of it is argumentative. I can be very argumentative. So self-reflection will help you develop emotional intelligence. It would increase your confidence. Like if you know who you are, then you don't have to tell other people. You don't have to brag. But at the same time, people can't define you because you won't have to prove it. You kind of understand who you are. It'll strengthen your integrity. Going into that self-reflection to strengthen your integrity, because it's like, hey, you know what you stand for. And when something is not happening, then you can say, hey, hold up. No, that's not somewhat we're going to do here. So it helps you do that. It helps you start communicating more clearly. So once you understand who you are, then you can communicate that to others. So you ain't got to read through the filters of and trying to be what they want you to be or what you think they want to hear. A lot of people get in environments where they just say what they think people want to hear, as opposed to telling people the truth. So when you're true to yourself, it helps you communicate more clearly. It helps you make sounder decisions. Like you will make decisions with your best interest in mind, the person who's going to be in the front of the church with you in that box, and that's going to be you. And you gain insight about optimizing your skill set. Like understanding who you are today doesn't mean that that's who you'll be 10 years from now. There's a saying that says, a man who looks at life at 20 the same way he does when he reaches 50 has just wasted 30 years of his life. So your perspective, and you should be evolving. Like your mindset should not still be in its infancy stages or adolescent stage. It should continue to mature and grow. So if you're looking at life the same way you did when you were 20 and you're now, like I am, 45, then you wasted 25 years of your life. It's time for you to mature and grow in your understanding of who you are so you can get to a higher level. And we're coming up on 27 minutes. I might get to the first question because there's a lot of questions on here. I think there's 55. I'm not sure how many I'm going to go through throughout these videos. But one of the first questions is, what are the 3 most cherished values that you have? Like, answer that for yourself. Like, what do you value the most? Like, for me, honesty, creativity, and intelligence. I mean, those are 3 values, like intellect and creativity and honesty. Those are things like I value as a person. And although I value honesty, sometimes I think I'm too blunt at times, and I need to work on that. As I was saying in other videos, that transparency with mindfulness, because sometimes if people ask me a question, I don't think a lot of times they prepared for the answer that I'm going to give them. And people are like, why would you say that? It's like, well, don't ask me a question that you don't want the answer to. And I'm reflecting back on the marriage, and my friends would tell me, hey, Drew, sometimes you're too honest. Some things you say I wouldn't have said. I said, well, they asked me the question. She asked me the question. I told her. So a lot of times I would come and say stuff that was blunt and under the umbrella of being honest. So I definitely need to work on that, even though it's one of the values I cherish. Transparency with mindfulness is definitely an area that I need to go on. So we're coming up on 28 minutes, and I don't think I'm going to get through the rest of these questions. And I'm about to go blast my Kevin Gates, great man. Do that. You know, this is my man cave, so everything that happens here is allowable. So I'm about to go blast my music, listen to a great man, do that. And listen to the words. And some of the words in there is just like musical stuff on there. But the chorus, you should be able to look in the mirror and see a great man. And just recognize, like, it's not like you're going to be great later. It's not like, once you get A, B, and C together, then you'll be great. As I indicated, you were created with greatness. Greatness created you. So you were inherently great. You are great today. And your ladder will be even greater. So go listen to the song. I'll be back on. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or over this weekend, but we'll go through this list, and maybe we'll get through more than one question on the next time. But make it a great day. Great man.